Welcome to our Lunch and Learn webinar series. Today's topic, Engaging and Growing Your Online Social Community, is brought to you today with the support of our sponsor, the University of Fredericton. My name is Tanya Seneschal, and I'm the event manager at the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce. Our presenter today is Marc Gauvin of Momentum Consults. Marc Gauvin is the principal and founder of Momentum Consults, a digital marketing consulting agency specializing in small business solutions. He has worked with many businesses ranging from tech to social enterprise and works closely with clients to create unique digital solutions. He is a certified social marketing professional, certified Google Analytics partner, and a Canadian delegate for the G20 Young Entrepreneurs Alliance. He currently lives and works in Fredericton and is an active member of the community. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Marc.
Great, thank you very much for that introduction, and welcome everyone to the Lunch and Learn. I hope you are staying inside as it is pouring outside today. So yeah, thanks to the Chamber for supporting this. We're going to be doing a presentation on engaging and growing your online social community. So it's going to be a bit different than your typical social media presentation. We're really talking about how to engage people online. Throughout the presentation, you may have questions. If there's something immediate or urgent, please feel free to use the chat box. You sometimes don't explain things very clearly, so if there's something immediate, please let me know. Otherwise, I think we'll have a bit of time at the end for some questions. And please feel free to email me as well. I'll have my email at the end there if you have any questions to follow up on. So, before we get started, I already got a nice introduction, but we'll add to that a little bit. Let me see here. Oh, and that's that. And there we go. So that's me. As mentioned, principal and founder of Momentum Consults, and we're a boutique marketing agency and really focused on digital marketing and focused on small businesses mostly, clients across New Brunswick, and really working on small business solutions. And part of the reason for this presentation is that digital has such an impact for small business around New Brunswick and really allows businesses to reach beyond their physical locations. I'm also the digital marketing specialist for University of Fredericton, G20 YEA delegate, Canadian delegate in Berlin this past summer, and a couple of certifications, social marketing certified and Google Analytics certified, and soon to be Google AdWords certified as well. So the first question, here we go. Oh, no audio? Can people hear me? That may just be a, just want to make sure if you can hear me, could you please type in the chat? Oh, you're good? Okay, perfect. So maybe just something with that computer. Oh, yeah, we're good, yeah. Okay, so this is kind of a question I always ask clients before we get into it. A lot of people will come and say, oh, I think we need to be on Facebook, I think we need to be on Twitter. Obviously, there's a huge opportunity. What you really need to ask yourself is, do you have something to say? Do you have something to add? Is there something you can bring to the community? You know, recently I was talking with a law firm, and they were saying, you know, we really want to be on Facebook. We think it's an untapped opportunity. I said, well, do you have anything to say on Facebook? Do you have anything to bring to the community? And that may not be that you don't belong on social, but it might just be that you belong on a different platform. So LinkedIn, for example, might be a better place for you and have a better impact, more niche market. So really start to think about whether your business has something to say. It's kind of blunt, but whether you can add something to the conversation and create value for your customers online and for your online community. So this is just kind of a rundown of what we're going to be talking about today. Before I really jump in, just to talk about why we need this type of presentation, or why I even give this presentation in the first place. Social media, as we all know, presents an enormous opportunity for small business and business in general. we've come a long way since the AOL Messenger days and the MySpace pages. Social media has really become this enormous giant. It can be a real vital sales channel. It can be the single sales channel for some businesses, and can really help grow your brand as well, not just for sales, but really getting more visibility and awareness of your business. It also allows you to reach new customers outside of your physical location. If you're a retail store, it allows you to expand your business. And it really helps you connect with your current customers. Not everyone has something to say to you in person, but they may be more vocal online. They may have questions that they can direct to you when they're engaging on social media. So there's all this opportunity, and yet there are tons and tons of businesses, we see it again and again, that just really aren't able to leverage the opportunity, or they don't have a presence at all. So for some of you attending today, you may have a social media page, you may be looking to enhance it, you may not have anything at all, but it is vital, and that's kind of just why we're doing this presentation, why we're covering it. So the sections we're going to focus on: platforms. I'll just go briefly over the platforms, kind of the top 8. Some statistics, some fun data for everyone to look at, and this will help you just understand maybe where you should be situated, where you should be positioned as a business. And we'll talk a bit about the demographics, but you also should be wondering or asking, where are my customers, or where are they most active, I guess. So just because your demographic matches up with Twitter doesn't mean that that's where your customers are having their conversations. Something to keep in mind. We'll also talk briefly about the organization, just getting yourself and your organization kind of a little more well-planned and understanding the tools. A lot of people will just kind of jump right in without really understanding why or understanding the resources they have available to execute on a social media plan. The large portion of our presentation today will be on engaging your audience, so as is the title, and we'll talk a lot about that, about growing, engaging, and leveraging, and then we'll be talking about some best practices as well. Data download. This is a whole presentation on its own, but we'll talk briefly about how to use your data and where to find that on social media, and got to spend money to make money. Something that people don't want to do. They want to see a return on investment immediately. But we'll talk briefly again about, there's a few tips on advertising on social media. So let's jump to the next slide here. Here are the top 4 platforms. These are based on monthly users. So no surprise to everyone, Facebook comes in number 1. And Facebook is really great for businesses because it is a large array of demographics. It's not specific, it's kind of everyone. As you can see, it slightly skews female, but nothing too drastic. And it allows you to post a variety of content. It's not just one type of content. You can do all sorts of things on Facebook. So it really does work well for business. Just an extra little tidbit on Facebook, the 75% of Facebook users spend at least 20 minutes a day. So there's a good amount of time spent on Facebook compared to other social media platforms. So something to keep in mind. I think a lot of people are usually surprised by YouTube being the number 2 social platform, and some people don't even think of it as a social media platform, but it is. And again, it's similar to Facebook in demographics. Obviously, you're limited to video content. And usually you don't just have a YouTube page, you're supported by other social media platforms. And actually for YouTube, in certain demographics, it actually reaches more people than any US cable network. So YouTube has a very large demographic, large reach. And just on the topic of video, we'll talk a bit more clearly later. Video is kind of the biggest trend right now. It's vital to your business that you're on video. It ranks higher on all platforms. It provides value to your customers and to your followers, and it's really the direction we see most social media platforms going. Instagram, of course, really fast growing, a little bit younger than these other ones, but They are mostly targeted to young females. So, and if your business is in the lifestyle or food business, fashion, really anything that's obviously image heavy, that's a place for you to be. Most people on Instagram follow brands as well, so they're very loyal to brands on Instagram. Twitter is an interesting one. Twitter's got a lot of followers, but not a lot of meat to it. So it is a bit younger, mostly male. There is a trend of low engagement. I'm not saying it's not. I mean, it's got 317 million monthly users, so there's value there. But it is a little bit lower engagement. It's more of a bulletin board than a place to create communities. But you can create good conversations, good discussions. But compared to the 20 minutes a day on Facebook, Twitter is only 2.5 minutes a day. So people are spending a lot less time on this platform. And actually over 50% of people never even tweet. So there is a bit of lower engagement there, but definitely still an area to reach potential customers. So just one second. Moving on to the next 4, Pinterest. If you haven't heard of Pinterest, I'm sure you've probably used it before, just for do-it-yourself projects is kind of a common thing you see people there. It actually stretches a large age gap, and we see a lot more older people, seniors specifically. It's the fastest growing demographic on Pinterest. 81% female, again, and really creative visual pieces need to be on there. Again, it's similar to Instagram in that the fashion brands, the food brands, anything like that will do well on there. It also lends itself very well to e-commerce. So people who find information on Pinterest are 10% more likely to purchase online. So it's a good referral system as well. Like I said, do-it-yourself projects do well on there as well. And just an extra little thing of information, a little tidbit here on pins, so your posts or your pins. It actually has the longevity of a pin is the longest in the industry. So a pin averages 150,000 minutes of longevity. And just to put that in perspective, a Facebook post has 90 minutes. So 150,000 minutes versus 90 minutes. So pins can last a lifetime. And I think we've probably all seen it if you've been on Pinterest. You'll be pulling up pins from years and years ago. Snapchat is fast growing, very young, skews female, but you need to be, business is relatively new on there, advertising is relatively new on there. You need to be posting pretty much daily. You need to have a lot going on. It's almost a full-time job in itself, but you can use geotagging and create little fun geotags around your events. I do recommend that to businesses, just to add a little bit of branding on social media or on Snapchat. LinkedIn, of course, B2B business social media platform. Slightly male, geared towards professional services. Also a great recruiting tool. And that stat in the middle is a little bit off. It's 45% of people who earn over $75,000 are on LinkedIn, compared to a lot lower engagement we see with income under 30,000 or under 40,000. So quite a bit of people on there. There's obviously a lot of people on there with a good income and good salary. So there's an opportunity there to sell as well. And difference with LinkedIn as well. So there's a slightly less likely, people are slightly less likely to be on multiple social networks. So they're more likely to just be on LinkedIn than to be on multiple. Reddit comes in at number 8, which most people may find surprising or maybe questioning what Reddit is. It's kind of the hub of the internet, and I think it's user-moderated mayhem is how it's described. So it's an interesting area for doing market research. It's very, very hard to sell in Reddit, but there are subreddits that maybe pertain to your niche where you can find value in discussions and talking to people, across the across the globe who may be interested in your types of products, but really very hard to sell. They're very protective over selling on there. So it's a bit more difficult place to be. So that kind of sums up the top 8. There are a few more kind of side or partial mentions here. Flickr, Quora, Meetup, Tumblr, Yelp, another place to be. So these are just a couple of extra places you might check out to see if your audience is there, to see if your area of expertise might fit into one of these platforms. But really those top 8 are kind of the areas we see most success. So moving on. Who's ready to run a marathon? Who's ready to run a marathon today, actually? I don't think I want to go outside. I could run maybe a kilometer. This is just me saying that social media is a marathon, and it really requires you to prepare and to be organized. Not just you're having a social media person, but having your whole organization really clear about how they engage on social media. So you do need a plan. You can kind of get in there and get a feel for it, but without something kind of overarching, like goals and resources and platforms, you're really going to be, it's going to be kind of a mess, and you're not going to be able to take advantage of it. It really can actually hurt your business if you're not active in the way or if the way you're communicating is not consistent. It can be confusing for your followers. So some people just end up leaving their page kind of as a ghost town. They'll be inactive for a month, and that's really not great for engagement, obviously. So just to briefly touch on this, I kind of made it as simple as possible. Obviously, you want to have a very, if you're a large organization, you want to have a more robust plan, but to just get started, there's kind of 5 areas you want to look at before getting into social media, and I think the first one is pretty obvious to really any entity of your business. You start asking why. Like, why do you want to explore social media? Why do you want to be on this channel? Usually sales, but could be engagement. Really just setting a goal. It could be multiple goals. It's going to help you drive the direction of your social media platform. It's going to help you drive content, and it's going to help your customers understand why you're up there and what types of conversations they should be having. And you can break it down to short-term, long-term goals. Number 2 are resources. So this is kind of the people, money, time section. So who's going to be involved? Setting engagement guidelines. Engagement guidelines are just a way of saying, how are you going to converse on social media? And making sure that's clear so that one person in the organization isn't responding in a very different tone than another person. So how do you engage? How do you engage with negative comments? How do you engage with your direct messaging? All types of things like this. Setting a budget, setting up how much time you want to spend on that a day. Do you want to hire a new person to do this? So just getting your resources put together. A calendar is useful, and a lot of people don't have a social media or content calendar. It becomes very vital around the busy times. So if anyone on here is a retail store or has busy time around the holidays, having a content calendar just simplifies it, really, just so you can get your posts out, you know exactly what you need to put. And if you don't have a content calendar for the holiday season, you needed one about 2 months ago. But you can still take advantage now and try and get things organized. So the first thing, if you're first starting one up, you can sync it with kind of your events, any major holidays, any large sales periods. Just start there and then just kind of grow from there and think about other areas you can fill, what you can post throughout the week. And if anyone wants a kind of template for a content calendar, just send me an email afterwards and I can get one to you. Next, we're going to look at the tools. So content buckets are just areas of just content that you think you should be curating over time, and instead of kind of doing it every day, you just add stuff to the bucket, and then when you need to post, you just go in there and grab it. And you usually have multiple content buckets around different types of posts that you like to put on your social media. Use the scheduling feature of most social media platforms. Facebook definitely has it. If not, you can use things like Hootsuite or Social Studio to schedule your posts. Just makes it easier if you can do it all on like a Sunday afternoon or a Monday morning as opposed to trying to do it every day. Mobile apps. I press this a lot to people. Get the mobile apps for the social media platforms. It allows you to answer customers' questions on the go. And obviously you don't want to be attached to work all the time, but if something urgent comes up, you'll have that on your phone. You'll be able to answer and respond right away. And it's really a lifesaver when it comes to some of these things. Some people will see their questions go unanswered for days because no one, you went over the weekend, you didn't have access to your home computer, and you don't have the social apps. So there are business apps for Facebook, and as for the other social media apps, you can just use the regular apps. And then just finally kind of committing the time. Seems like a no-brainer, but people tend to get excited at the beginning and then kind of trail off near the end. But you should be setting time aside each day. It could just be 15 minutes to look at your social media, look how your posts are doing, see if people are engaging, take a look at your data, see if things are trending in the right direction. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. It could be, like I said, maybe once a week it's more involved, but really try and set aside time each day to take a look. So, I really like this quote. This is kind of one of the goals of your social media is to create that volunteer marketing army. And I'll tell you what is a really amazing feeling for a lot of businesses is when a prospect asks a question and one of your followers answers that, and you didn't have to do anything. Is there any better feeling? You didn't have to get involved. So creating that volunteer marketing army, people who are going to go up to bat for you, really can create value, can save you time, and it can create a more engaged community. So this is kind of the goal of what we're doing today. So it's time to launch. Here's the top 4 things that I mentioned earlier that we're going to be talking about. So growing, how the venues you use to grow your following, and this isn't not growing just using advertising budget either. We're talking about growing more organically. Engaging with your audience, best practices there. How to leverage. I don't like the word leverage very much, but that is what we are doing. And then some best practices for, we'll be talking about 4 of the social media platforms, the 4 most popular ones, and kind of some best practices there. So let's jump right into growing. So this is really quality versus quantity, just said more elegantly. Really engaging followers that might derive value from your online community versus engaging as many people as possible. So just things to keep in mind, your goals may not just be I want to reach 1,000 followers. And maybe I want to engage X amount of people. You want to have, and we'll talk about, the next slide we'll talk about kind of a case study of basically this example in practice. But yeah, just something to keep in mind as you're growing your community, it's not all about numbers. It's about the engagement factor as well. So here's a case, and these are real Facebook pages that I've protected their identities because, as you can see on the left, someone's not doing a great job with their social media. So this just really shows you that quantity over quality, and how having a bunch of followers and posting a lot doesn't necessarily create a valuable online community or create engagement or lead to sales and all these other goals. So this business publication has a strong following. They post a lot. They average one engagement per 3 posts. So not exactly something you want to see on your social media page. And really, when someone goes to visit your page for the first time and they see that, they'll think, okay, this isn't really of value to me, or what they're posting doesn't relate to whatever I thought they were doing. Versus a retail store here, and keep in mind this is just, this is the nature of these businesses as well. They're not the exact same business, but just to give you kind of an example. So the retail store, 4,500 followers, they're posting just once a day, and they have a very high engagement. This is great engagement, and these engagements this is taken from Facebook, and I'm just looking at shares, likes, comments. So there's not post clicks aren't in this example, but as you can see, the trend is that the retail store is performing much better. So something that people don't think about necessarily, when you're first growing your online community, why not access your offline community? There's kind of 3 areas we look at: customers, events, and partners. And this is really the first step that I recommend. If you're starting from scratch, or even if you want to just create more growth, this is kind of the first area you want to go. Start talking to your offline community, because you're going to be able to engage with them a little bit easier and give them the value proposition of your social media page. You're going to be able to make the pitch a little bit better in person. So for customers, just talk to them, ask them what types of content would they like to see. Ask them what platforms do you use, and where do you think we should be? Oh, you use Facebook? Okay, well, we have a Facebook page, and you can run contests around it, in-store contests, or to try and get those customers on there. If you have email marketing, if you have an email blast, include those social media posts in there, or the social media platforms in there. Include it on your website, include it on your other socials. So if you have a Twitter feed and you want to promote your Facebook page, talk about it there. Any of your print advertising, you can also put it on there. Believe it or not, that does still work. Most people don't think that putting a social media logo on your poster works, but it does. It lets people know that you're available to them on their platform of need. So in terms of the events, so this could be hosting events for influencers or partners or advocates, anyone that you think will expand your network, basically. So if if you make, I don't know, activewear line, you have an activewear line, maybe hosting a yoga in the park event with some key people and showcasing your products, and then creating kind of a social media buzz around that. I also encourage you to take pictures and video at the events and ask permission, because you don't want to be posting things people don't want to see. But ask if you can tag them. Use hashtags. Use common hashtags around your industry or around your location. Like hashtag Ferritin. And basically tagging people in these pictures and videos. People are going to want to share their experiences, and that will just broaden your network. And of course, partners. Just finding any of your partners, like I mentioned, people who have similar interests to your business, seeing what kind of conversations they're having, and trying to access, have a cohesive relationship to try and grow each other's following. So, jump to the next thing here. So naturally, the next step is growth from the online community. So there's kind of 4 areas you can look for people. The existing fans and influencers. So if you don't have a Facebook page or don't have a social media page, there still may be people talking about your business or about your industry. So going out there and finding them, you're gonna have to do a little bit of research here. Search for topics of interest. Find out where these people are the most active. Again, what platform should I be on? You're going to have to do a little bit of research here, use some hashtags, find some influencers that and see how their conversations are going, monitor and kind of start engaging at that level. Complementary business, so just to kind of use the yoga studio example again, if you're a health food retailer, you might go to look at a yoga studio. You may have some crossover business there. Research kind of what they're doing, analyze how the conversations are going, what do their followers like to see, and kind of see how people are discussing online. And it doesn't really just have to be a business. It could be an industry association. Competitors are a great place to look, actually. See what your competitors are doing. Any partner businesses you have as well would be of value. The local organizations, well, you're all members of the chamber, so that's a good first step. Supporting local events is obviously important. Really connecting with your community can provide value. Doesn't mean just because you don't sell locally doesn't mean you shouldn't be involved locally. Just on a hiring basis, if you want to hire new people, you need to have a local brand. So don't assume just because you're an exporter that you shouldn't be involved in your local community. And that may just be a new opportunity for you. You never know. The online community, so these are areas, it could be platforms you're not on, it could be other forums, it could be blogs, any kind of social media group. Really just go outside of where you're currently located and try and find your niche your niche industry or where people might be having conversations. So in this little icon, I used a hiker. So if you have a line of camping gear, you may look around online, finding forums or blogs about people who camp or people who are rock climbers or something like that, and just kind of find out where they are and monitor what they're doing and try and engage at that level. And it's important here not to just try and direct sell. Don't just jump in there and be like, well, we offer tents and jackets. Try and just start engaging, be of value to the community, basically. Social contests. I mentioned before about social contests. What I was talking about was in-store contests, directly targeted at your current customers. These social contests are, they work for some people, they're valuable. And if you're not clear quite what I'm talking about, I'm referring to, a gift basket or a gift card giveaway, and like and share and tag and follow and comment to be entered into the draw. They're very popular. They're great for creating, they do create a lot of growth, usually. But again, what you're doing is you're creating likes, and you're not necessarily creating engaged fans. So you may get a boost of 100 followers, but they may not be the right people. They may have just been people who wanted to win some soaps, I don't know. So just keep that in mind if you are going to run a social contest, that the community you're building isn't, maybe a little bit empty. And I do have an East Coast Lifestyle Nose Scotia Fisherman. I have some examples of groups that they do work well, but those types of brands are really just selling. They're just selling product online. They use e-commerce, and it lends itself to that type of contest. But it doesn't mean you can't find success, but just something to keep in mind. Okay. So next, that kind of covers just some initial tips on growing. So we're going to talk about engaging. This quote here, the only voice that's heard in social media is an authentic one. So there's going to be more kind of focus around the aspect of really creating that authentic voice, not just selling to people, trying to engage them rather than just sell. So we'll talk a bit more about that in the coming slides. So kind of the first step, creating a welcoming environment. If you have a physical location, you think about how you set up your business, you create a welcoming environment for clients or customers to come in. So you should do the same for your social media page. So you want people when they first land there to think it's a welcoming environment that has, conversations happening, discussions, there's value to them. They can see that you answer people's questions in a timely manner. Maybe they'll see that, oh, look, another business tagged them in a local event, or they can see other partners and businesses engaging with them. So just something that when they go in, it doesn't look cold. It looks like there's something's happening on there. And really just weighing, they'll be weighing kind of, are you selling to me or are you offering me something of value, something a bit more? So when we talk about engaging and nurturing online relationships, so the engaging kind of aspect, the types of content you share, are you prompting questions? Are you answering them? Are you leaving them unanswered? Are you creating discussion in your comments or on your replies? The types of content is obviously kind of the big one for most social media followers. Customer questions, again, like I said, timely. A lot of people, the majority of people expect answers within an hour, within 60 minutes. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be there, but it does show that there's a higher expectation than, say, like an email or like returning a phone call maybe. Those people may expect a day to get back to you, but on social media, people expect more immediate results. And the younger the demographic gets, the quicker the response time we see. So like I mentioned before, having the mobile apps can really help with that. You can answer questions on the go. Negative comments and feedback kind of going to happen at some point. Usually people voice their opinions on social media rather than in person. So the best feedback here, the best tip is to be calm and have some grace and don't leave it blank. I'll talk a bit about kind of Twitter best practices around that, but it is always good to answer the negative comment, show to your other customers, your other followers that you take in negative feedback. And really the thing you should be doing is trying to push them to private message. So I'm sorry to hear that you had a negative experience. We'd be happy to discuss it more. Please, here's my phone number, here's my email address. You can direct message us here. Really get it as quickly off of social media as possible. Don't delete the negative comments either, because they'll probably come back. But trying to take it to private message is the best way to do this, so you don't create some kind of ranting back and forth. Finally, proactive engagement. This is going back to that growth stage of growing online and finding people who are already talking about your brand and just kind of engaging with them there. So rather than waiting for people to come to your page and comment on your post, actually reach out and find people who are talking about your brand or asking questions in your industry and retweet, comment. Again, not trying to sell, but just trying to be of value. And as for the nurturing, the 4 kind of steps we outlined previously here, these 4, this is just what you're doing basically. You're taking a prospect, you're kind of nurturing them into a customer, and then hopefully you reach that point where you're creating advocates and that marketing army that we discussed earlier. This is kind of the line that we're using. Fun tip, the 1/3 rule. So this is obviously not some kind of golden rule that you need to follow, but it's just kind of a tip. And what this is if you're a business with a social media page, you should try and limit your product selling to, at maximum 1/3 of your posts. So only 1 in 3 of your posts should really be like a selling or promoting a product or promoting a service. Try and create 2/3 of your social media posts should be about engaging the community. You really have to think about why people are on social media. They're not really on there to shop necessarily. They're on there to engage in a social community. So really your content should reflect that. And Shout out to Bowmans Pharma Save. This presentation's case study. I didn't censor his information because I want to highlight what a great job they're doing. So if you're not familiar with Bowmans, they're a new pharmacy. I believe they started up in January. And some of their page stats at the top, it's only 10 months old. They just reached 1,000 followers, 52 reviews with a perfect 5.0 score. That's unheard of. And they do post daily, so or almost daily, pretty much every day. So I didn't even have to go really digging. I just took the top, 7 or 8 posts from their page because I know they're doing such a great job over there. So you can kind of see what types of posts they're doing, and obviously it's not exactly 1/3, but you kind of get the idea. So they're a pharmacy. They're saying a new product alert, but they don't just say new product, it's this price. They talked about why it's made in Canada, that every product that's purchased, the donation goes out. So they kind of created more of a value around their new product alert or new product launch. They talked about their community partnership with UNICEF. They gave a healthy tip on itchy skin. In the middle there, that's when they reached 1,000, so they thanked their community. They talked about a new health product that was out of Sussex. So again, they're announcing a new product, but they're talking about the local story behind it. So creating a little bit more value and creating more of a connection to their product. And they shared a funny video. They provided myths about flu vaccines, and then he does kind of weekly videos. And like I mentioned before, video is really big on social right now, and his videos average over 1,000 views every week. So it's great to see that he's getting a lot of engagement there and doing weekly videos, which is really great practice to have. So it just kind of shows you about someone local who I personally think is doing a pretty good job. And obviously this isn't going to be, it may not be pertaining to kind of what your business is about, but you get the point that this kind of reflects kind of how you should be engaging people. And just a note, he gets a lot of, there's some good comments on there, people asking questions, people saying great job, and really appreciating the feedback. So, excuse me, I have a bit of a sore throat. I encourage you to go over there and take a look at that page and get an idea of how it's functioning. So influencers and advocates. Basically, these are people to help your brand gain better visibility in large networks, and there's some sincerity to it. So people are going to really appreciate what an influencer or an advocate has to say more than they will trust your business, basically pitching the product. So what we're really looking for is just it's a virtual word of mouth. So we're building trust, we're attracting prospects, or broadening your network. The advocates are the people who are already talking about your business, are familiar with your business, and are the people answering questions on there. So search for them, respond, nurture them. Maybe you give them early information. We're launching a new product. Here's an early info. Or you give them an offer or discount because they're of such value to you, and you want to keep nurturing that relationship. The influencers, on the other hand, have a broad reach. They have a lot of followers. So research them, monitor what they're doing, what they're talking about. Start to engage, don't sell, but start to engage, comment, and like. And then start with kind of a small ask. Don't ask them to just be your brand rep right out of the gate. Ask them something small just to get going. So on to this third step, leveraging your community. So obviously, if at this point in the phases, you've got yourself a good following, and you got an engaged community. So how do you leverage that? So a couple of kind of just quick points here. You can monitor conversations for new topics, ideas of products. So people might be saying within the comments, oh, it would be great if you carried this product. It would be great if you offered this service. So just keeping an eye on that. Use polls and surveys to ask questions. Input on maybe new products or something you want to do with your business, like an event or something like that. Like I said, let your army go to battle for you. So make sure you monitor what they're saying so they're not giving false information, but it's great to have them kind of answering questions or promoting your product for you. And you know, you can just ask them, what type of content do you want to see on here? What types of posts should I be making? Just asking will usually generate some new content if you're struggling to find something. Finally, the fourth step here, we're going to be talking about a couple of best practices. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn is where we'll be focusing. If you want more best practices, again, you can just email me, and I'll provide you kind of a bit more in-depth best practices and a few more networks or a few more platforms. Let's jump right in. Facebook. Just to kind of fire through these. Like I mentioned before, your page should show that customer care and relationships are important. So people should see that you're responding to their questions, that you're posting things that are valuable. Ratings on Facebook give your brand credibility. If you only have 2 ratings on there, some people might find that they may not find that appealing. But so if you can get people to rate your brand on Facebook, and really on any other social media platforms that use it, so Google or Yelp. Create conversations versus just content, and don't force content if you don't have it. So obviously you want to be posting regularly, but if you're just putting, rehashing old posts or something like that, like don't be forcing it. Engage posts create reach beyond your following. So that's what we're talking about, like tagging people in photos or tagging other businesses. Anything that really gets your post outside of your following feed. Think that could be creating content that's shareable, something that people want to share. Like if you're the first to announce something new or something like that. Like leverage the groups and events feature. So each Facebook page has the ability to create groups and events around it. So make sure you're using those. And like I said, Facebook for Business. There's an app for Facebook Business, and it's good for following to be able to engage on the go. And just a quick tip, actually, don't overuse your events. Sometimes people will create events for everything, but no one wants to have like an event a week from a page. So just be wary of that. So Twitter and Instagram is where hashtags have the most value. So make sure you're monitoring the hashtags that are important to your business or that are hashtags of your business, and keeping an eye on those and using them in your posts. Again, engage with relevant users and a genuine way. Help, don't sell. That's a big one on Twitter and really any social media, but especially on Twitter. There's obviously trending topics. Don't just force a hashtag into your post, but if there's something that's connected to kind of what you're doing, you want to make a post around a certain trending hashtag, don't be afraid to do that. And again, respond to negative tweets. Like I mentioned before, Twitter's kind of the one where you may want to look at, is this person someone of influence? Like I would check their profile before responding. If it's someone who's constantly posting negative tweets and they have like 4 followers or something like that, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But on Twitter, you can kind of just check their profile to see if it's something you should be worth responding. Instagram. So yeah, finding communities through hashtags in other companies. So researching, like I said. Monitor who's engaging the most and see if you could transfer them into being that marketing army, into those advocates. Just people who are always engaging is good to keep them close. Posting genuine content. I'm going to have a little example here after this that kind of showcases that. Again, make sure you ask permission, but posting photos of people or in-store interactions or at events is always really valuable on Instagram. Using local and relevant hashtags, and create unique hashtags around your event. So if you're doing some kind of special event or you're having some kind of special promotion or something like that, you can create a unique hashtag to better track how it's performing. Okay, Taco Bell. Who likes Taco Bell? This is just 2 posts from Taco Bell, and it just kind of shows, what is going to create a more engaging photo on Instagram. So on the right, tacos. They look delicious. It's lunchtime. I'm actually pretty hungry. So maybe I'd like that photo. But for the most part, it's kind of just like, here's tacos, you know, buy now. On the left, you have a photo that really it kind of would trick people into thinking that it's not a Taco Bell post. So it's a really good way of creating kind of a nice looking image that may fit into someone's feed. You would think it was just a friend maybe, but it's actually Taco Bell advertising. So it's kind of I like what they've done here with some of their branding. And finally, LinkedIn. So like we mentioned, it's obviously kind of more of a professional network versus lifestyle, so keep that in mind when you're posting content. It's going to vary quite a bit compared to your other platforms. It's a good place to post about your expertise. So if you offer a professional service, you know, if you're an accountant, it's a great place to kind of talk on that subject and post articles about that, or create content around that, or as I mentioned, the next point here, use groups. So if you think there's a niche topic or an industry kind of topic that you could create a group around and share content within that, that's going to be of value. LinkedIn is also obviously a place where people go to look for jobs, and so your page should reflect a good working environment. And it's also kind of the one main social media platform where employees are encouraged to connect with their employers. So something, if you want to kind of create reach on your posts on LinkedIn, really engaging your employees to connect is a good way of doing that. All right, flying into data here. And these last 2 points are going to be kind of quick, but yeah, marketing without data is like driving with your eyes closed. I don't think it's quite that drastic. That's a little dramatic, but it certainly makes things more difficult. Not knowing how your page is performing. So all major social media platforms have some kind of metrics or insights for business. So there's tons of tutorials and tools to find those. I'm not going to go over everything, but they all do. And the three kind of areas you want to measure are growth, engagement, and the brand. So your growth, obviously, overall followers, but as we mentioned before, that kind of quality versus quantity. You want to make sure that you're growing that engaged community rather than just your total numbers. But total numbers is also kind of a good indicator. And you may want to do that on a monthly basis. Weekly depends on the platform. If you're just launching, maybe weekly, but otherwise monthly kind of works. Engagement, you know, clicks, likes, comments, shares, all that stuff. Cross-reference it with your sales. Obviously, this is not causation, but correlation, and you can kind of see if it's actually providing value for your company. And then monitoring the brand. So did you get more reviews this month, positive comments? Did users post content on your page or tag you in posts? How many advocates did you bring on? And were there any external mentions? Were you in the news this month? Was there other blogs that posted about you, or did an industry association kind of talk about your business? So if you're still struggling after all this, you're not seeing the results, there's 4 points to kind of consider. So assess what your original goals and KPIs and ask whether they're reasonable and realistic. So if you said I wanted 10,000 followers by the end of the year, was that really a realistic goal? So just kind of going back to your initial organization and seeing whether that was the right thing to do. Like I said, looking at where your customers are. So are you even on the right platform? So engagement's low, or is this where your customers are actually located? Look at other platforms and see if there's conversations that may be more valuable. And along those lines, consider whether your content is relevant. Are you posting things that people are participating in, or is your following not interested in anything that you post? So just consider what and try some new posts and monitor your data for those posts to see if you're getting better engagement. And then look at your competitors and see how they're engaging people. It's hard to tell with if you're looking externally, you can't tell obviously all the data points. You can't tell whether someone boosted a post, but it'll give you a good idea of how they're engaging their community. So as you can see, there's 5 minutes left. I figured. Presentation coming soon, so hopefully maybe the chamber will have me back. I'm getting some smiles from across the room. We could do it's a full-fledged presentation really on advertising. There's a lot of really great things you can do on social media, highly targeted, highly niche, and really a place where we're seeing businesses getting the best return on investment right now. So hopefully we can do a presentation on advertising in the future. I'm going to give you a few tips, just some freebies. Some freebies before we go though. Facebook / Instagram now really offers the most sophisticated advertising platform, and that's both for targeting and for analyzing how your posts, if they succeeded or not. So if I was going to start somewhere, and if you're on the platform, Facebook for sure. Engaging versus selling, so really try and spend money on posts that will, if you're going to boost posts, I should say, try and spend money on things that are on a post that would engage people rather than you promoting a product. So maybe you boost a post around engaging your, or around a question about what product should we carry next, rather than here's something, it's Halloween, here's some candy. So really trying to spend money where you're going to get a better reach. And mobile, 80% of traffic from social is on mobile. So if you're using external links or you're linking to your website, really make sure that you're mobile friendly. Okay. So something to leave you with. Essence of social media is knowing your audience and engaging them in something they love. So this is your goal of social media here. And that's me. And if you have any questions, I think we have like 1 minute, but if there are any questions, I can try and field them. If not, my email address and website is at the bottom there. Please feel free to email me with any questions. Like I said, if you want the best practices sheet, a little bit more in depth, content calendar, or if you want a second look at these slides, just let me know. Okay, we're going to close it. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. As an appreciation for your time and expertise, the Chamber will be making a donation in your name to our scholarship fund. I would also once again like to thank and acknowledge the University of Fredericton for sponsoring our Lunch and Learn webinar series. If you'd like to watch this webinar again, or you'd like to pass it along to your coworkers because it was very interesting and I learned a lot, it will be posted to our Chamber website and YouTube channel within the next week or so. Thank you and have a great day, everyone, and stay dry out there.